Blog Talk Radio.
It's the Ed Show, not the Ted Show. It's the sit back, relax in your bed show. It's the Ed Show. Come on to the Ed Show. You can talk to Ed on the Ed Show. Hey, everybody. Number 19, is you there?
Yeah, I'm here, the Ed.
You didn't say nothing to me in the briefing before the show.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware what time it was, the Ed. I was typing up a message on the fantasy baseball website because there's outrage. Outrage, the Ed.
Oh, yeah, I'm quitting that shit. I'm done with that. I'm done. There's like 3 or 4 guys making some silly trades, and it's just ridiculous, man. I'm going to start my own league, and it's going to be
this is your league, the Ed. This is your league.
You know, when I gave that Rick Stash, listen to this. Rick Stash Sweet Rides, or whatever the heck that stupid kid's name is, listen to this. He needed a scholarship for this year, and we give him a scholarship, and he goes around and pulls this trash. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But, hey, man, outrageousness is like goddamn courageousness. Some people got it, some people don't. So we here with the Ed Show on Thursday night. I know you guys probably like, oh, we thought it was going to be a goddamn sports attraction. Nah, we did that for a couple of weeks. Man, you know, we got to go back, and we got to go back to the real formula that makes the magic called the Ed Show. You guys know it's like pulling a rabbit out of the back of a hat. You got to make it happen. So, sports attraction will probably be back. We'll be back in another city. I'm back in Las Vegas this week. I was in Cleveland and Colorado last week, Denver. Yeah, but I'm home now, and things will be good. Things will be, super deluxe good for us. I'm still in love, and that's what happens. Now, number 19, I don't know if you know this or not, but every day this week I've been doing a cinch cast, a small little miniature Ed Show every single day for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I haven't known that yet.
And a lot of people have been saying that show is a lot better when you're not on it.
All right. I can hang up right now.
Yeah, that's what they say. Hey, man, I'm not... why are you going to kill the messenger? I'm the messenger.
I'm not killing the messenger. If you don't need me here, I will leave. I have other things to do, the Ed. I'm very busy.
Why do you lie, man? You ain't got nothing. You live in goddamn Green Mountain, Pennsylvania.
In Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Please get it straight. I'm very busy, the Ed. I got school projects due this weekend. I'm working on an essay right now.
Where are you?
Well, I'm writing an essay about plot logic in mysteries right now.
Well, that's kind of interesting you would say that, because tonight on the Ed Show, I have been writing a thing called story time.
Oh, this will be good.
I'm a professional writer.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm thinking about going to get a degree in it, a degree in writing.
Ah, that'll be nice, because, I'm getting a master's degree in creative writing, so that's cool.
I called it what you call creative writing school the other day, and they asked me could I draw a turtle.
Oh, and how did that go? Did you draw a turtle?
Haven't done it yet.
Oh, well, get to it.
So what I'm going to do...
After that, they might ask you to draw a pirate. Remember the pirate guy you could draw too? Remember him?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that I may get my degree quicker than you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can try it out.
See, because you talk about, I got school. Oh, I got school. Well, you know what? Hey, go to school. I don't care. I pay with credit card.
It's the only way to go.
Yeah. I don't got American Express, though. Do you know why?
Why?
One day I left home without it. And They took it from me.
Oh, I see.
Because they tell you, don't leave home without it. And I did.
Without it. Yeah, their slogan.
Well, story time is a story about me. My name is Ed Miller. Capital E, little b-d, capital M-I-L-L-E-R.
So just to confirm, just to confirm, the name of the story is Story Time, or is the segment you're doing titled Story Time? I'm confused.
Well, the story don't really got a name yet, but I just wrote and called it Story Time. So people knew that it was time for a story.
Oh, okay.
Now, this story starts in my younger days, and it kind of pulls the evanescence, tranquility of who I am and started me out. And I'm going to read it, and a lot of people have read some of it, but I've even added, I keep going every little part, and we're going to see, because this starts when I'm 12 years old. So this story time has to go all the way till I'll be 58 in June.
I think you're going to be 59 maybe, actually. Right?
Yeah,
or 58?
I'm 58. Man, why are you trying to put years on me, man? Well, I know that one year I was going backwards, but I'm back straight.
Yeah,
I know.
I think in all fairness, it's pretty easy to be confused by your age, because you were aging backwards for a while, and then you jumped ahead. I have no idea how old you are.
I was born 1953.
Okay.
So how much does that make me?
I guess you'll be 58 then.
Yeah.
Right? What year is this? 2011?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Because last year it was 2010. Next year it's going to be 2012.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. All right, well, do we have any theme music for story time?
Let me check. No, we don't.
Jesus Christ. You got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. I don't even know if I can go on.
I could try and play some music of some sort if you want, but
no, don't go to no trouble. Don't go to no trouble. We know you super deluxe busy.
How about, let's see, I'm looking through our sound clips here. Blog Talk deleted all your singing songs, most of your stuff.
Now listen to me. I got to tell you something. I'm about to read this story. Are you going to interrupt me every 2 minutes telling me I'm a liar?
Well, wait a minute. Are you going to be lying? Or is this all true?
This is a true story.
So this is a true story. So it's not fiction. If you're writing a work of fiction, I would remain silent. But if you're claiming to write a true story, I may interrupt you.
Jesus Christ. You got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. All right, well, I'm going to start story time. Let me sing a song about story time real quick so we can get ready. You ready? Got your ears on? Because everybody got their ears on out there. And frankly,
I miss you used to sing a lot more on the show. You always used to bust out in song, and you really don't do that as much anymore. So this would be nice.
Well, here we go. It's story time by the Ed. You people gonna listen to the words that I said. It's story time. It's story time. So just sit back, relax for story time. That
was pretty good. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, your voice gave out there at the end, but I mean, you are like a 58-year-old man.
Yeah,
so
well, it gets shaky sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was that goddamn kid that sings like CeeLo, I'd be na with the girl I know, and I'm like, F you and F you too, girl. I don't know why you stole my money. F you and your mama too, baby. All right. Enough of that. All right, we ready for the story?
Yeah,
everybody got their ears on. Okay, all right. Story time by the Ed. Now, once upon that time, there was two kids walking down the street in Bloomington, Indiana. Now, these kids were good kids, and they never hurt nobody. The best of the two kids was named Ed. He was a big, strong kid and super deluxe good-looking. Even at the young old age of 12, he was a ladies' kid.
All right, wait a minute. I got to interrupt already, Ed, because right away I think that's not true.
Listen, man, don't interrupt me. Just
right.
After we get through the first chapter, I'll let you have questions.
Okay, thank you. All right. I'll make notes. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He was a big, strong kid and super deluxe good-looking. Even at the young old age of 12, he was a ladies' kid. He had already banged his babysitter.
His sister? What?
Huh?
You say you had already banged your sister? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Come on, man. How am I supposed to read this story?
I was shocked.
All
right, I'm sorry.
Put yourself on mute.
Okay, I'm on mute. Go ahead.
He had already banged out. I can't even read.
Well, you're 58 years old. Yeah, it's hard to see.
Man, hold on. I got to get my glasses fixed. Come on, man. You're messing with me, man. You're messing me up. Are you going to be quiet?
Yes.
People are going to call in and be pissed off.
I doubt it.
They will.
No one really calls anymore.
Well, I know, man. People don't listen no more. This might be the last Ed show.
He said that many times in the past.
He had already banged out his babysitter, who was 17, and had many other young honeys around the town. Now, the other kid named Lester was Ed's buddy, and they had been friends for a super deluxe long time. Lester was kind of a chubby and had no lady-getting skills. Now, as they was walking down the street, a city bus drove by, and the two good kids wished they had enough money to get on that bus and adventure the brave new world that they was about to create. Ed said he really wanted to move away and become a real cool cat, and Lester just nodded like he wanted to do it too. So Ed and Lester went into the store to get some drinks and some candy. Only one problem, though. They didn't have no money. So while Ed distracted the beautiful young lady at the counter, Lester filled his pants with all kinds of goodies for him and Ed to snack on in a little bit. Now, Ed got the lady's phone number, and he told her he would call her later because his dad just got enough money to pay the phone bill, and it was supposed to be turned on that afternoon. Well, Ed went one way and Lester went another. Lester always had to be home by 5 p.m. because his mom was real mean, and she told him to be in the house for supper. Ed, on the other hand, did whatever he wanted to do, and he headed out towards the old junkyard on State Route 32. It was a 5-mile walk for Ed, and he was glad to have the soda and candy that Lester had stole from the store a little earlier. As Ed neared the junkyard, and he saw a man standing there with a guitar, and he was singing some songs. Ed went over to him and told the guy that he was a singer too. The man and Ed sang a couple of songs, and then Ed headed over to the junkyard to look for a part that his daddy needed for his car that was always broke. Now, as Ed entered the junkyard, he saw a sign that said it cost 25 cents to enter. Ed ain't had no quarter, so he went around the back and hopped the fence. Ed looked all around until he found a car that looked like his dad's old pickup. He finally found one, ripped off the piece, hopped back over the fence, and headed home because he knew it was getting close to dinner time, and he didn't want to miss his mama's good home cooking. Now, when Ed arrived home, his grandmama was sitting on the front porch in her swing. She'd been sitting in that thing for the last 25 years, just rocking back and forth, humming to herself some old church songs. Oh, church, Jesus, oh, baby Jesus. Ed walked past her without saying a word and went straight to the dinner table and sat down right there. Everybody else was already at the table by that time, just waiting for Ed to get home. Ed's daddy looked kind of mad and asked Ed where he had been and why he was late for supper. Ed reached in his pocket and pulled out the part to fix his daddy's truck and told him that he was out working hard to get some money to pay for this part for the pickup. His dad inspected the part and patted Ed on the head and told him how much of a good son he was. He must have really meant it because he let Ed get first dibs on the pieces of chicken he wanted that his mama had cooked for supper. They also had some greens, yams, and sweet potato pie for dessert. Looks like it was going to be a good night at the Miller house tonight. That's the end of the first chapter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I dozed off a little bit there. So what happened?
I'll go to chapter 2.
Well, here, I do have one question, because what I did remember from that first chapter is that at one point you said you wanted to snack on the goodies in Lester's pants.
No. Lester had stole some stuff from the store.
And he put it in his pants.
Well, he had to steal it.
And you wanted to snack on the goodies in Lester's pants.
No. You know what, man? You're rude.
What? I'm sorry, Ed. All right, chapter 2. It better pick up, though. There better be something happening here. Because I got to tell you, that first chapter, not much in the way of conflict or, nothing. So let's go. Let's get the plot rolling. Can't wait.
All right. Here we go. Chapter 2. Everybody, hold on. Let me find out where I'm at on this page. All right, here I am. Everybody finished their supper, and they was all sitting in the front room looking at TV. Then Ed's dad told him to come outside with him for a minute because he needed to speak with him. So Ed and his little brother went outside to talk to their daddy. The dad said, "Boys, I got some bad stuff to tell you, and I want you boys to be strong and don't get all upset about it." Ed and his brother looked in amazement at their daddy and just wondered what he was about to say. Just then, Ed's mama yelled for them to come back in because a funny show was on, and she didn't want them to miss it. Ed's daddy told them to run inside, and they would have to talk after the TV show was over. Well, Ed, his little brother, sister, his mama, and his grandmama sat at the TV. Huh? What?
I was just going to tell you to sound it out. If you don't know the word, just sound it out. Like phonics.
I'm trying to read it, man. Jesus Christ, okay. Man. All sat at the TV to watch the funny TV show. Ed's daddy was outside pacing and smoking a cigarette. He walked through the front door and headed to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator door, and all of a sudden you heard him screaming and cussing about there was no beer in the fridge. He came back to the front room and told the family he'd be back shortly, and he headed out the front door on his way to get some beer. So Ed and the rest of the family was watching the show with some popcorn and laughing funnily at the show. Now, what came next, no one in the whole wide world ever expected. The TV show ended, and it was about 7:30 at night, and Ed's daddy hadn't made it back from the store yet. Ed talked with his little brother, and they were wondering what their daddy wanted to talk to Ed about. Maybe he's going to buy Ed some new shoes, or maybe a new bike, or maybe give him $10 for being so cool. Ed's brother told him he think that his daddy was about to have bad news, like it was going to storm, or that they got to give the dog away. Well, it started to get dark, and still no sign of Ed's daddy. Ed's mama couldn't call him on the cell phone because back then we didn't have no cell phones. So she just thought to herself that he'll just get home when he gets home. Now, it was 9 o'clock at night and bedtime for the Miller kids. Mama tucked all the kids in and told them she would see them in the morning. When she tucked in Ed, he asked her if Daddy was back yet, and she softly said no, and then started weeping and exited the room. Ed then ducked under his covers and turned on his flashlight and started looking at the dirty books he found in his father's shed. Well, it's 11 o'clock at night, and there is a loud commotion out front of Ed's house. Ed peeks through his window and sees a policeman out front with his daddy and another woman screaming who wasn't Ed's mama. Ed's mama runs out and asks, "What is going on?" And she goes nuts when she sees this other woman. She can't believe Ed's daddy brought one of his extra bitches to the house when Mama was home. Ed woke up his little brother so he wouldn't miss none of the fireworks going on outside. The policeman was trying to calm the situation and told her to be quiet or they was all going to go to jail. Ed's daddy said he had stuff under control and ushered his wife and the other broad into the house. The police officer left, then the real fireworks was about to begin. Ed's mama was going ballistic, asking Ed's daddy who this goddamn woman was. Now, he was trying to explain to her that it was a woman he'd had on the side for a long time. The other woman was saying that Ed's mama had to go and that she was going to be the new mama in this family. Now, back in Ed's room, Ed and his little brother was at the door peeking through and listening to everything that was said. Shh, be quiet. You don't want them to hear who's listening. Shh. Stop. Be quiet. Just then, Ed's grandmama came out of her room and headed to the front room to see what all the commotion was about. Now, Ed's daddy, Ed's mama, and the new lady all was arguing when grandmama came in the room. She asked what was going on, and all Ed's mama could do was cry. Well, grandmama had enough. She went back in her room and said for them to quiet down because she was tired. So this went on for about 30 minutes, and Ed's daddy was trying to ease the situation. Then all of a sudden, bang, bang, and the extra lady fell to the floor with 2 bullet holes right in her chest. She was bleeding super deluxe bad, and it didn't look good. Ed and his little brother and grandmama all came out their room and went to the front room. Everybody looked towards the kitchen door, and there was Ed's little sister holding the gun that her daddy had given her for her 8th birthday, and it was still smoking. Now, Ed's mama started crying, and all hell was breaking loose. Ed's little sister done killed Daddy's extra lady. This is not good. Now, Ed's daddy told everybody to calm down. He bent over to check his extra lady's pulse. He told the family she did. Grandmama and Mama started crying, and they grabbed Ed's little sister and took her in the back room. Ed's daddy told Ed and his brother to go out in the back shed, and he'd meet them there in a few minutes. Then Ed's daddy grabbed an old brown blanket and wrapped the dead lady's body in it. He picked up the phone to call the police and hung it back up real quick. Ed's daddy think to himself that the cops would pin this murder on him, and he couldn't let his little daughter go down for this crime. So he picked up the dead lady in the brown blanket and headed out to the back shed to meet his son. Meanwhile, Mama and Grandmama cleaned up Ed's little sister. Little sister was crying uncontrollably, and she kept saying that she didn't want no new mama. I don't want no new mama. I don't want no new mama. All 3 of them hugged and started praying that all this nonsense was going to turn out good. Seems like Ed's daddy having an extra lady was a bad idea so far. All right, that's the end of chapter 2.
What a horrific tale.
That's a true story.
That's a true story.
Yeah.
So your sister gunned down an extra lady.
Yeah. Speechless, huh?
I am. Because at first I thought, it's going to be a mystery of what happened to the Ed's daddy. The Ed's daddy's missing. The Ed's got to go investigate and find what happened to his daddy. That's not what happened at all. Instead, Daddy comes home with an extra lady, and then all hell breaks loose. And now it's like a suspense true crime novel or something. It's, riveting.
And you thought that this story sucked at first, didn't you?
Yeah.
My life don't suck. My life don't suck.
That's my new favorite quote after you wanted to eat snacks and goodies from Lester's Pants. My life don't suck. beautiful sentiment. That'll look good on a T-shirt. My life don't suck.
Maybe we'll make some more Ed T-shirts. I need some money. All right, we're going to go to Chapter 3, okay?
All right. Chapter 3.
So it's pretty good, right? You got to say it's a pretty good story so far, right?
Yeah, an extra lady just got gunned down. That's awesome.
All right. Here we go. Chapter 3. The Miller family lived in a 3-bedroom home that Ed's daddy and uncle built with their bare hands about 6 years ago. It was on 4 acres of land that was filled with broken down bikes and junk all around, and 3 chickens that ran through the yard that Ed and his little brother and sister played with. They had an old hound dog, and all he did was sit on the porch or go around the back and poop in the front of the back door. Ed's mama never had a job, and she took care of Ed's grandmama ever since Ed's granddaddy died in a farm accident 3 years ago at the Johnson farm about 4 miles up the road. Now, Ed's mama was a fine, fine woman in her day, and that's why Ed's daddy loved her. Ed's daddy was a tall, skinny man with a little bit of hair on the top of his head, and he chewed tobacco and drank a lot. He was kind of a womanizer and had secrets that nobody knew about until he told them. They was a happy family pretty much, but things was about to get crazy and the poop was going to hit the fan. Now, Ed and his little brother were in the shed waiting for their daddy to come talk with them. They both were looking pretty scared, but Ed's little brother started looking for a shovel. Ed asked him why, and he said he thought Daddy was probably going to bury that lady in the yard somewhere. Ed agreed, and they found 2 shovels and sat in the shed waiting on their daddy. Now, Ed's daddy got back to the shed, and he was carrying the old brown blanket with the extra lady inside. He laid her down by a rusted-out lawnmower and told the boys that they had to get a game plan. The boys listened closely as their daddy explained to them what they was about to do. Now, Ed's daddy saw his 2 kids with shovels and told them they were thinking just like him. They followed their daddy out to a big patch of the field where the kids always played baseball and football. Now, they had a spot marked where home plate was, and right at that spot, Ed's daddy told the boys to start digging. They had to dig a hole deep enough to fit this extra lady in. Now, Ed and his daddy actually did the digging because his little brother had to hold the flashlight so they could see what they was doing. And it was dang near 2:30 in the morning before they got that hole dug right. Now, after the hole was dug, they flipped the extra lady inside the old brown blanket into the hole and then started to toss dirt on top of her. But wait, his daddy said, hold on a minute. We got to fill this dang thing up right. His daddy went back to the shed, and they came back with a wheelbarrow full of mixed concrete. They poured the concrete onto the extra lady as she laid there in that old brown blanket. Now, after the concrete cemented that extra lady, they tossed the dirt on her all the way to the top and set the home plate base right over the top of it. Ed's daddy told him and his brother to never speak a word of this to anybody. Don't even tell their mama what they just did. The boys agreed, and they went into the house to clean up. Ed's mama and grandmama and little sister were fast asleep, and all was once again calm in the Miller household, at least for the rest of this night. Now, breakfast time came and went, and no one spoke a word of what went down the night before. Ed's daddy fired up his pickup and headed off to his job. Nobody in the family ever really knew what Ed's daddy's job was, and no one had the nerve to ask. As long as he brought money home, everything was okay. Now, Ed and his little brother got their shoes on and headed out the door for school. Ed's little sister didn't go to school because she was a girl, and she was at home with Ed's mama and grandmama, learning how to do woman stuff like cooking, cleaning, and all that girl-type stuff. Now, as Ed and his little brother headed off to school, they decided to stop by the corner market. Each boy always had 50 cents for lunch, so they had cash on them. Ed bought some penny candy, and his little brother did too. They left the corner market and finally made it to school. Now, it was lunchtime at school, and Ed caught up with his buddy Lester. They each got a sandwich and some chips and sat down at the lunch table. They discussed what they was going to be doing after school. Just then, some big kid came up to Ed and told him he'd heard he'd been talking bad about him. Ed told the kid that he never talks bad about nobody. The big kid said, Well, me and you is fighting after school. Ed said he wanted no part of that because he wasn't allowed to fight no more since he beat up most of the kids at his other school when he was younger. And the people said he can't fight no one else because if he did, then he would have to beat up more people, and then more people would have to fight him later, so he decided that he didn't want to fight now. The big kid told him to shut his mouth and be at the bike rack at 3 p.m. Ed tried to tell the kid that he didn't ride no bike to school, so he wasn't going to the bike rack. That'd be stupid. The big kid told him to be there or just get pounded into the ground somewhere else. Ed just continued to eat his sandwich and told the guy he'd try to make it, but he ain't promising nothing. Now the big kid left, and Lester asked Ed what he was going to do. Ed just shrugged his shoulders and said, it ain't no problem. So the bell rings, and it's 3 o'clock. Lester runs and finds Ed and asks him if he's headed to the bike rack. Ed says, yeah, I got to go take care of this. So they head to the bike rack. A lot of kids knew about this fight because some other kids was making flyers about the big fight and passing them out during the last part of school day. Now, by the time Ed and Lester got to the bike rack, a group of about 40 kids was huddled around. Then one boy shouted, here comes Ed. Then all the kids looked toward Ed and Lester's direction. In the middle of the group was the big kid. His name was Henry, and he was twice as big as Ed. Ed slowly walked to the group, and it seemed like the big fight was about to go down. As Ed enters the middle of the crowd, the big kid Henry starts banging his hands together and tells Ed he's going to put a serious whooping on him. Ed kind of just stands there and doesn't even flinch. Henry rushes toward Ed and throws a big right hook at Ed's head. Ed didn't even see it coming, and Henry hit him right in the jaw. Ed falls to the ground. Henry jumps on top of Ed and then hits him in the face again. Ed's face is getting pretty banged up, and then Ed grabs Henry by the balls and squeezes him like a hooker's boobies. Henry screams, then Ed turns him over and starts shaking his arms in the air and kicks Henry right in the mouth, and Henry's teeth go flying. As Henry is bent over holding his mouth, Ed grabs a bike that some kid was sitting on and picks it up over his head and crashes it down on Henry's head. Henry fell to the ground, knocked out. Then Ed picked up the 3 teeth that Henry lost and put them in his pocket. All the kids cheered, and Ed and Lester took off running away from the scene of the fight. Lester's laughing all the way and tells Ed he can't believe he beat down Henry like that. Ed said he had to do it because if he didn't do it, who was going to do it? So it had to get done. Now Lester agreed, and they stopped running and started walking. And before long, they were across the street from the Johnson farm, the farm where his granddaddy had died a few years earlier. Now, Ed always got sad when he was anywhere near the Johnson farm, so he told Lester they had to get away from this crappy place. Lester, as always, did whatever Ed said, so they took off jogging a little further down ways the street. Now, as they was walking down, Lester looks and points to an old motorcycle laying down in a field. The 2 boys run over to the motorcycle, and they try to start it up. They kick it and 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 kick it, and finally it revs on up. Ed tells Lester to hop on the back, and they ride down the street like 2 yolks in an egg. Ed drops Lester off at his house, and then Ed drives his new motorcycle home. When he pulls up into the yard, his daddy and uncle are sitting on the porch drinking some beers and playing cards. Ed lays the motorcycle down and heads to join them. Ed's daddy asked him where he got that motorcycle, and he told him it was in a field over on Deerhead Lane. Ed's uncle asked Ed if he could take it for a spin, and Ed told him sure. So Ed's uncle, who was about 3 years younger than Ed's daddy, hopped on the motorcycle and started riding around the yard. All of a sudden, he lost control and jumped off the motorcycle and crashed into the side of Ed's daddy's shed. Ed's uncle laid on the ground in pain, and the shed had a hole in it. Ed's daddy was super deluxe mad. He just finished building that shed 3 weeks ago, and now look at it. They went over to check on the uncle, and he seemed to be okay, but the shed wasn't. Ed's daddy grabbed his brother by the throat and told him he better have this shed fixed or else it was over for him. Ed's uncle said he'd have it fixed in a day or two, and he jumped in his car and headed home. Ed's daddy just leaned back in his swing on the porch, took a swig of his beer, and told Ed to take a seat because they had to finish what they was about to talk about last night before some unmentionable thing happened. Ed's dad, no, not Ed's dad. Ed sat next to his daddy and began to listen to what he was saying. Now, as they seated on the porch, Ed's daddy was about to tell him what he was going to tell him last night. Ed was only 12 years old, but he acted older than that. So his dad handed him a beer and said, "Son, we got to have a talk." Ed listened intently as his daddy explained to him that finances were super deluxe bad and that he was heading off to Kentucky in 3 days for a few months to go make some money for the family. Ed was looking kind of sad, and then he finally had the nerve to ask his daddy what he did to make money for the family all these years. His daddy just shook his head and said it was none of his concern, but just know that money would be coming and that Ed was now going to be the man of the house, at least for a few months. Now, after they talked, Ed asked could he go to Lester's house and see his daddy. No. I said that wrong. After they talked, Ed asked could he go to Lester's, and his daddy said, "Yeah, but be home by 9 because you got school in the morning." Ed said he would be, and he went to the shed where his uncle wrecked the motorcycle, picked it up, started it, and took off down the street towards Lester's house. All right, that's the end of that chapter.
All right, Ed. 3 chapters in. But what happened in that chapter? It was all over the place. It opens up, you're burying a dead body, the extra lady, you're burying the extra lady in the ground, you're pouring cement on her. Then the next thing I know, you're having a fight with some kid at school. Then you get a motorcycle. You meet up with your dad. You're talking with your dad and stuff, and way too much going on. You need to organize that. Cut that down. Have shorter chapter breaks. Get them in there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe I read 2 chapters at once.
Yeah, that could have been 3 chapters right there.
All right. Well, calm down, Jesus Christ! I didn't want to stop when I was reading so good.
Now, what inspired you to start writing story time?
Well, a lot of people always ask, "Ed, man, where did you come from? What are you about?" So I decided to tell them.
So this is the story of your life. You swear that this is the true story, that when you were a child, you helped bury an extra lady in underneath home plate at a baseball field. Is that correct? Did I hear that properly, too? You buried her right under home plate?
Yep.
So every time you score a run, you're like, "Hey, lady, I remember that extra lady."
Yep. Well, we didn't play much baseball after that. And you'll find out why. You'll find out why.
Wow, that is something. Now, is it any truth to it that the reason why you wanted to start writing in fiction and books and whatnot, because you want to be like me?
I don't write fiction. I write
Oh, that's
truth.
true. This isn't fiction. This is true. Yeah, this is like a memoir more than...
yeah. That's what people say. They want to know, want them biographies of me.
But in general, wouldn't you say you really want to be like me?
I don't want to be white.
Very good. All right, Ed. Well, I think that's enough story time for one evening, but I appreciate it. It was a swell story. Like I said, you might want to work on how you're organizing it a bit, tighten it up a little bit.
Wait a minute, man. I'm halfway done.
Yeah, I know. Well, let's save some for next week.
But no, everybody's already heard this part. I haven't got to the new part that I wrote.
Well, that's good. That's a tease for next week.
Are you kidding me?
Well, don't you want to talk about other things? We have other things. We only got 20 minutes left in the show, and we had other things you wanted to talk about.
I guess story time's over. You're the boss. White man runs the show.
But I know you had other topics. For instance, Manny Pacquiao versus Shane Mosley.
Well, we already know Shane Mosley's going to win, so that's it.
Well, I don't know if that's it. You had an issue of the Ed Times dedicated to the fight, and it was very entertaining. You had some interesting photos of Manny Pacquiao as a small child and Freddie Roach comforting him and stuff. That was something.
Oh, yeah, that's back when he was a baby.
Yeah. Freddie Roach still looks about the same. So you think that Shane Mosley, Sugar Shane Mosley, who's how old now, 52, 53,
39 years old. Listen, Pacquiao's 35, Shane is 39.
And you think Shane Mosley, Balco through and through.
Okay, you don't think both of them are juicing for this fight?
Shane Mosley is going to beat Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Now, what are you basing this on? Tell the people why.
I
A lot of
base
people
it
think
on
Pacquiao's the best there is.
Pacquiao is a fraud, and Pacquiao has never fought tough people. He fights people. Listen, his last 4 or 5 fights when he became Superman have always, everybody that he's fought, Ricky Hatton, Oscar De La Hoya, Juan Manuel Marquez, whatever the hell their names is, and Joshua Clottey, all of them have a pattern to how he has picked these opponents. Now, Hatton and De La Hoya and Marquez, all three had the same exact pattern. They all three were beaten by Floyd Mayweather. Then they all three had a comeback fight against somebody who was a bum. And then Pacquiao goes, oh, yeah, those guys are all back on top. I'll fight them. When those guys were already damaged goods. Now, the other 2 fighters that he fought, too, had also, like Cotto and Margarito, whatever, had all had similar fates, too, where they had fought somebody and got beat down super bad, like Shane Mosley knocked out Margarito. Then Margarito comes back, beats a bum, and then gets to fight with Pacquiao. Just like Cotto had got beat up by Floyd, and no, he didn't fight Floyd. Did Cotto fight Floyd? I can't remember.
Didn't Antonio Margarito?
Margarito beat the hell out of Cotto a few years ago with some stone gloves. So Cotto was never the same, man. Cotto would have been a great fighter, but he got cheated in his career because of Margarito cheating. Just like Pacquiao's cheating all these fighters by having dope in them. But anyway, listen, Sugar Shane, he could probably be taking the same goddamn stuff that Pacquiao's taking for this fight. I don't know if it's true. I don't even think they're drug testing for this fight. I think Pacquiao,
That'll be nice. No drug testing. Just load up. Yeah. HGH.
And I wouldn't be surprised. But I too do think also that Pacquiao, I listened to his press conference the other day, and he's starting to realize that he ain't going to win it because he's been a loser before. Once you've lost, it's easy to lose. Somehow, don't it seem like say like right now, who's not a great, all right baseball player. It's an average baseball player in 30, in the mid-30s. Say like, I don't know, Juan Pierre.
All right.
He's like 33 years old, man. Now, what if Juan Pierre next year just started hitting like 350 and stole 95 bases and had doubles and triples left and right and maybe like 20 home runs? Wouldn't people get kind of suspicious?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And that's the same thing with Pacquiao. He was pretty much a mediocre fighter. He fought dudes that were supposedly good, like Barrera and Morales and all those. But those are Mexican fighters that, not really good fighters. Man, they're what you call club fighters. And they all
I don't know if Eric Morales is a club fighter.
Oh, listen, they all beat each other up, and they were all bleeding and stuff like that. And now you're going to tell me after Pacquiao had like 6 ferocious fights with those guys, between Barrera and Morales and other Mexican and Marquez, he had 6 or 7 grueling fights where he's been knocked down like 7 times in his career. Between those fights and was bloodied and battered, and he bloodied and battered those guys. Don't you find it interesting that now he doesn't bleed no more, and he's got a lot more stamina now? Never had it before. Was getting knocked down in like the 3rd rounds and stuff. Now, all of a sudden, the dude has got like super rejuvenational charges and can just, it's like he's shaking the ropes like Ultimate Warrior and stuff like that.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah.
I'm just saying. It just seems too crazy because most fighters, when they're in wars all the time, their skills erode. You don't you don't take all this beat down and beatings from these fights, the punishment that you take, and then somehow come back and look like you've never took a beating in your life. Never happened in the history of boxing. And I don't think a little kid from the Philippines is going to be the one to change it.
Well, Pacquiao was 32, like you said. His last loss was to Eric Morales. Unanimous decision loss back in 2005. And he should have lost to
Marquez. He had a split decision with Marquez, where Marquez actually pretty much won that fight. But they gave it to Pacquiao. But
that was back in 2008. But since losing to Morales, he has not lost a fight, and he was 26 back then. So that's when he hit his. Isn't that when a lot of guys come in their primes? 26.
Not really in boxing. I wouldn't think so. Maybe heavyweights, but not younger weights. I don't know.
It's not like he's Juan Pierre, 33 years old, starting to hit home runs.
He's not really fought a lot of people. Name the people that he's fought since he's been 26. Since the Morales fight, tell me the people who he's fought since that fight.
After the fight to Morales in March 2005, he fought Hector Vázquez. Very good.
Okay, oh yeah, that's real goddamn tough. Okay.
12. He got him in a TKO in the 6th round, I believe. All right, Eric Morales again, TKO in the 10th round.
Okay, that was a war right there.
Oscar Larios, unanimous decision, 12 rounds.
And Larios was a champion. Larios was all right, but not that great of a fighter.
Then he had the rubber match with Eric Morales, KO, round 3.
Yeah, okay, yeah, and Morales was, and see, that's what I'm saying. The toll of the thing finally got on Morales, but that's another war they was in, because that's just what happens. All right, and Morales was done, even though Morales made a comeback now, but he ain't going to be nothing.
April 2007, Jorge Solis. I don't even know who that guy is.
So the only really person you've ever named so far is Eric Morales.
Yeah, he knocked out Solis in the 8th round. Marco Antonio Barrera, unanimous decision win.
And Barrera was washed up. They had already fought a couple of times before that, I think.
Juan Manuel. Oh yeah, I think they did fight before.
Yeah, Barrera was washed up, and it was still a war for that fight.
Yeah, they fought in 2003 as well in TKO for Pacquiao in the 11th round. All right, so Barrera. Then on March 2008, Juan Manuel Marquez, split decision. That's the one you referenced earlier.
And that was a tough fight. That was a war right there. Okay.
Then he fought David Diaz, TKO, round 9.
Yep.
I don't know who David Diaz is.
2008,
Oscar De La Hoya, TKO, round 8.
Okay. Well, De La Hoya was already torn up by then. De La Hoya had already lost to Bernard Hopkins, all those guys right there. Floyd beat him. And Floyd had beat De La Hoya right before that. Then De La Hoya came back, had a little extra fight or whatever, and won. And, De La Hoya was a bum then, okay? So Barrera was a bum by then. Barrera was a bum by then. De La Hoya was a bum by then, okay?
De La Hoya was a bum by then. I used to like De La Hoya in the old days. Yeah. But, by then he was just a businessman. He didn't even care. He was just putting on fights to make money. That's all he was doing.
Yeah, that's it.
This in, let's see here, May of 2009, he fought Ricky Hatton, 2nd round KO. And that's really the fight.
Now, listen, Ricky Hatton got softened up by Floyd giving him such a beat down. Yeah. And that's what happened because Ricky Hatton, when he took that knockout from Floyd, that took out Hatton's whole perspective. That was his first loss ever, so it was easier for him when he got hit hard again to fall down and lose. And that's what happens to a lot of fighters. Once you lose the first time, you're done. Especially English fighters. English fighters, they have that false sense of security because the people in Britain, Ricky Hatton, Ricky, so that was a fake fighter, and everybody knew that Ricky Hatton was a club fighter anyway. So he should have got beat down. Okay.
Now, to the listeners out there, listen to the Ed. He knows what he's talking about. He may seem like a crazy old man a lot of times who buries extra ladies under home plates, but no, he knows what he's talking about. And he's exactly on the money here about Ricky Hatton and everything. All right, now in 2009, TKO over Cotto in the 12th round.
Yeah, and he went 12 rounds with Miguel Cotto, who had previously got beaten by Antonio Margarito, who we found out had concrete in his hands. Yeah. And that beating made Cotto not a reputable fighter no more.
Oh, hey, Ed, I just looked over at Cotto's page. Do you know he's going to fight Antonio Margarito coming up?
Oh, they're going to have another fight. Yeah, this time they're going to have, regular gloves on.
That's going to be something. I like a good grudge match. All right, then he's got the win over Joshua Clottey in 12 rounds, which is ridiculous that he couldn't knock out Joshua Clottey, right?
He couldn't, he couldn't knock out Joshua Clottey, and I'm going to tell you something. Joshua Clottey had no interest whatsoever in winning that fight because he was also promoted by Bob Arum. So Clottey,
yes, that's right.
Now Joshua Clottey, what happens in those cases is like, hey man, just show up, man, just do whatever. Clottey didn't want to get knocked out. He wasn't going to. Pacquiao was too small to knock him out. Couldn't knock him out. So Clottey went the distance with him, lost, got paid, and is still fighting and getting other title shots at other weight divisions and making more money.
That's right. That's a good conspiracy there. Yeah, Clottey, it didn't look like he was too interested in.
That ain't no conspiracy, man. I worked in boxing. I understand how that stuff happens.
Yeah. All right. Then we got the win over Antonio Margarito, another 12-round unanimous decision.
He couldn't take out Margarito either. But guess who knocked out Shane Mosley before Pacquiao fought Margarito? I mean, guess who knocked out Margarito before? Yeah, what am I saying? Hold on.
Yeah, I think you meant to say who knocked out Margarito. And,
before Pacquiao fought him. See, Mosley knocked out Margarito, but Pacquiao couldn't afterwards.
January 2009.
Doesn't that show you? Wait a minute, hold on. Don't that show you that he couldn't knock out the bigger fella? He knocked out Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton, we told you, was a fraud anyway. He was white.
That Clottey or Margarito Mosley fight was January 2009. Mosley stopped him in the 9th round.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now what happened after Margarito?
That's it. That's where we are today. Shane Mosley in May 2011. So
I have shown you the falseness of Manny Pacquiao, the flaws in his record since 2006.
Yeah.
Now Shane Mosley, he hasn't been a world beater like they act like. Not at all. Not at all. Now Shane Mosley, on the other hand, he lost to Floyd. He had that draw with Sergio Mora, which
the Latin snake.
That fight was at 154 pounds, which Shane Mosley shouldn't be fighting at anyway. Sergio Mora walks around at 168 anyway. Shane don't weigh that much, okay? Shane actually, I thought Shane won the fight. Yeah, most people did, but the ringside people gave it to, Sergio Mora, which, that's what happens in boxing sometimes. People.
Well, actually, I'm looking at the page here for Mosley on Wikipedia, and it says it was a draw with the Latin snake.
Yeah, that's what I said. It was a draw.
Oh, I thought you said he lost to the Latin snake.
No, I said I thought he won. No, it was a draw. That fight was a draw.
Yeah.
So, neither one of them lost, but it was, that's what happens. But this fight right here,
before that, Mosley lost to Floyd, like you said. Then he beat Margarito. Then he beat Mayorga. And then he lost to Miguel Cotto back in 2007.
Yep.
Decision.
But this time, what I'm saying, hold on, what am I saying? Hold on.
I think you're saying Mosley's going to win.
Well, I would say he has a better than average shot of winning this fight because, first of all, also I forgot to tell you one thing about Margarito too. He was a Bob Arum fighter.
Yeah.
Joshua Clottey was a Bob Arum fighter. So
what's Mosley?
Mosley is by himself. Mosley is a free agent. He's pretty much a golden boy fighter with De La Hoya. But, De La Hoya, he wants the money, so he wants to have the titles. So
now let me ask you this, though, yet. But if Mosley were to beat Pacquiao, if Pacquiao were to beat Mosley, would you say, once and for all, that Pacquiao is legit?
No, because I still think that he takes drugs.
Oh, okay. So this won't even convince you. So who would he have to beat? Is there any fighter out there who's...
he'd have to
Floyd,
be Floyd,
right? You want him?
Yeah,
he has to be Floyd.
He'll have to be Floyd. And Floyd's over there training right now. I'm telling you, listen, everybody goes, Floyd's scared, he's ducking. Listen, here's the whole goddamn thing about this. If Floyd says take the test, because we all know the dude is doing something. That's just like saying say if, like when the guy, Ben Johnson, was running for Canada and got busted for the dope, what if he had ran that and said, I ain't taking no test?
Yeah.
You know? What happened?
There'd have been big trouble. Big trouble, Ed.
Yeah. And you know what? Say if this was the Olympics and we had a Filipino fighter fighting an American fighter, and they was getting ready to fight in the Olympics, and then the Filipino fighter, right before the fight, goes, you know what? I'm not going to take the test. America would be outraged and go, hey, man, that Filipino dude is cheating. Why won't the Filipino guy take the test? Somehow Manny Pacquiao got people believing that he's even American. Dude, everybody should be USA for Floyd, man. And they're for some dude that's in a goddamn crazy country.
That's right.
Yeah. Don't even got nothing to do with America. Come over here and people be acting like, oh, he's like American. That dude ain't no America. He's going to be president of Philippines. But I'll tell you this, if he ever loses, if he gets knocked out by Shane Mosley or gets knocked out by Floyd, his nation will turn on him and he will move to America. He will say, forget this Philippines. Because he's a god. And even in his press conference the other day, he was talking about, now he's fighting for the pride of his country. He's going to wear these yellow gloves for poverty and all this. Wants everybody to wear yellow in the stands and all that. When you start doing stuff like that, you're not thinking about just boxing. He's on Jimmy Kimmel. He's on Josh Porno. He's on all these different shows doing all this stuff leading up to fight week. Man, you do not do stuff like that. Making plans to have a concert here in Vegas after the fight. Man, you don't do stuff like that when you are a world champion of the world.
Yeah. All right,
Nope.
Dan, so we get it. You're picking Mosley over Pacquiao, so that'll be good. And we only got a couple minutes, but we got to mention also the Kentucky Derby is coming up.
Oh,
and you have a game.
We got the Kentucky Derby.
You have a game over at damashek.com where you pick the winners, right?
Yeah, you pick the exacta, the trifecta, superfecta, winner, and loser. The person who's going to come in 20th out of all 20 horses.
Nice. Now, I don't know anything about the Kentucky Derby ever, but especially this year, I don't even know any horses' names. Who should we be looking out for, Ed?
Man,
or maybe you shouldn't say because it might influence the game. People might follow your picks, though. It's a double-edged sword here. Should we let you make a pick or not?
Well, here's what I'll do. It's Kentucky Derby Day. You guys go to my Facebook page, and I will put my picks on Facebook. The bets that I actually make that day, I will put them out there for all to see.
I'm looking at some of the names of the horses. Uncle Mo. That's kind of
well, these horses all can see. I always like that. And the Daves tried to steal this thing from me too about naming horses after your junk. I've been doing that for years, man. Like pants on fire. Girls like it when I say twice the appeal. They like that. Or stay thirsty. You like a girl to stay thirsty.
That's filthy. Stay thirsty.
No. Or when you're about to do it to the girl, decisive moments. Or
what does comma to the top mean?
Yeah, comma to the top. Yep, that's what I do. I comma to the top. Or dialed in. I'm right there. I'm dialed in. Or sometimes I call the girl Derby Kitten, and I ride her. I ride that little
Derby Kitten.
Yep, Derby Kitten.
I think I'm picking Derby Kitten to win it all.
And then Twin Spire. That's when you got two girls.
Yeah.
And then I'll Master a Hound. That's me too. Now,
who's the favorite here that you had?
I don't know what that is.
Dialed in?
Uncle Mo and Dialed In are the two. But Mucho Macho Man, I've been called that a lot of times.
Yeah, that's a good name.
And I've had a lot of midnight interludes. And then, I'm such a jungle monkey that Animal Kingdom. I just get on there.
Now, Ed, have you ever had a twin-spired midnight interlude?
Yeah, I have. I've had the twins before. And that reminds me, because you can go down to horse number 20 and say, watch me go.
There it is. The Kentucky Derby. Go over to damashek.com.
Uncle Mo's a good thing, too. Yeah, I got me and Uncle Mo coming over to your house later. That's what I tell you.
So you can listen to the Ed, talk about the Kentucky Derby. Well, not listen to the Ed, but I guess read about the Ed on Spacebook. I thought you were quitting Spacebook.
Man, I'm quitting everything, man.
All right. Very good.
You guys, no
Hey,
one
well,
tells their friends. We're just stuck with the same amount of people all the time, man. No one tells their friends no more.
Tell your friend. Tell one friend to listen to the Ed Show, and then they'll tell a friend, and it'll be big again.
I know.
But yeah, we got to remind people real quick before the end of the show here that if they go to DamonSheck.com, the Ed's Good Side forum, you'll find a link that the Ed's app is up on for testing, and you can download it and install it on your Android device. And
I don't know how to do it.
Manually install it. It's not released in the market yet, but you can download it off DamonSheck.com. Try it out. It's the Ed's Love Lingo. He gives you pickup lines for picking up the foxy ladies. And once we get all the bugs worked out, we'll release it to the market, and everyone can download it. All right. So there it is. All right, Ed, we're about out of time, buddy.
All right. Well, don't let them talk bad about you. Now it's time to say goodbye to Ed and all his friends. They would like to thank you folks for kindly dropping in. You're all invited back next week to listen to my show. So get yourself a couple paychecks and go and buy a hoe. Y'all come back now. You hear? I like the girl with the booty in the front. 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 Booty in the front.